Here we go.
A shearer with a mullet walked into the shed. He lit up his rollie and said, "Hey, how's going? My name's Ted. I've come from up Blackall, and I'm glad to meet you all. Done a couple of months around Broken Hill. Last week I was in stall." He said, "My kids, they need new shoes. My missus needs new bloomers. I've got bills I haven't paid, and I've got fines I'd better pay sooner. But my wallet's as empty as my guts. You've met smarter dogs, so I better pull my finger out, bend down and drop the cogs." Everybody that was there was struck with awe by this man's presence. They knew he was the real thing, a true shearer from the heavens. It was just a little cocky job, it'd take a week at most. Couple of solid days in weathers, then they'd hit the U's and coast. Amanda was the rousey, the cocky was the classer. His missus made the smoko, she put cheese on saladas. There was a couple of local shearers, an old one and a young one. And the cocky's son was rousey too, not the good one but the dumb one. Then at 7:30 bombs away, that mullet man was up it. He threw the handpiece faster than anyone has done it. Well, he's sure so hard, he's sure so fast, their mouths all opened wide. He sure so fast that by past he dropped out 55. He sure so hard, he sure so fast, they could not believe their eyes. But he sure so hard, he couldn't last. He sure so hard, he died. He sure so hard that he died. "By jingoes, this bloke's up 'em," said the cocky to Amanda, and the others as they chewed their chops for lunch on the veranda. They had never seen these weathers shorn the way this fella shore 'em, and they all agreed that they indeed had a busy day before 'em, 'cause the wool was coming off at nearly twice the normal pace, so everybody had to race to keep up with this man's pace. Now, off into the afternoon, they knew they had more coming. Ted was stropping up a comb and sure to keep the rousies running. It was halfway through the third run when our hero Ted was tested. When dehydration's pressed and the hallucinations pestered, he continued in his frenzy, though his muscles felt on fire, and he heard his long-dead father's voice call out from somewhere higher. He said, "Go, my son, don't give up, tear these sheep apart. You've always done me proud because you've got a massive heart." And in Ted's mind the stars aligned and time itself eroded. He dragged a weather to the board and just exploded. It was unrelenting, bombs away, the mullet man was up it, throwing the handpiece faster than anyone has done it. Well, he's sure so hard, he's sure so fast, their mouths all opened wide. He sure so fast that by past he dropped out 55. He sure so fast, he sure so hard, they could not believe their eyes. But he sure so fast, he couldn't last. He sure so hard, he died. He sure so hard, he died. Ted kicked it up another gear. The whole shed started shaking. The sky outside came full of clouds. A storm was in the making. The shearer's sweat was running hot, and when it turned to steam, a great white flash of blinding light shot out from where he'd been. So they turned their eyes to shield their heads, and when the light was gone, they saw a spectre slowly rising, but still shearing on and on. He was floating in the air now, at least 5 feet high or better, the down tube rising with him, and a massive wrinkly weather. He was pumping on the long blow, somehow dancing on his feet. Every blow was running sweet as he moved around the sheep. His hand was light and clever, there was mischief in his smile, as if he'd just worked out a joke, but it'd taken him a while. The room was getting hotter, he was holding it flat knacker. Then he thundered down the last side, and that's when the magic happened. A second flash of lightning, followed by 1 minute's darkness, and when the light returned, just his body laying lifeless. There was nothing they could do, 'cause the mullet man had done it, smashed into the next dimension just by how hard he got up it. Well, he's sure so hard, he's sure so fast, their mouths all opened wide. He sure so hard, he's sure so fast, he dropped out 55. He sure so hard, he's sure so fast, they could not believe their eyes. But he sure so hard, he couldn't last. He sure so hard, he died. He sure so hard that he died. It's not funny, I know. Well, Whether an achievement or whether a disaster, his life insurance paid out and his kids well looked after. His missus sold her interview to the highest bidding paper. Amanda's book was published and a movie was made later. The farmer's sons became switched on, the farm it grew and grew. The local shearers work there now and half the town does too, because all the shearers come to see where Teddy made his name. And his ghost is drinking long neck in the Shearers' Hall of Fame. Yeah, his ghost is drinking long necks in the Shearers' Hall of Fame. He's trading rowdy stories with past legends of the game. Burjo's there and Belly too, then of course there is the Gouger. Their laughter roars out endlessly into the tiny hours. All the rouseabouts and classes past, well loved and renowned, are reaching in the esky for another cold King Brown. While the famous weather wrestler plays, they love him far and wide, but there's none there more respected than the man who sure so hard he died. So if you're feeling game, then go on and get up it. Hard work's not gonna kill you, but there's one man who has done it. And he's sure so hard, he's sure so fast, their mouths all open wide. He's sure so fast that by half past he dropped out 55. He's sure so hard, he's sure so fast, they could not believe their eyes. But he sure so hard he couldn't last, he sure so hard he died. He sure so hard that he died.